Guys, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but Tekken 8's really fucking good. As someone who's been getting into fighting games recently, the Tekken franchise is one that I've heard about in the past, but generally didn't have any motivation to look into. That all changed in 2022 when a buddy of mine introduced me to the franchise with Tekken 7, and I really liked it. The story, the characters, the music, the visuals, Negan from The Walking Dead being in it, everything outside of the combat, which I just found okay, really clicked with me. So when they announced Tekken 8, I wasn't too excited about it, but I was curious to see how much it would improve from Tekken 7. And then I got the game a few days ago, and call it recency bias. Actually, it's not even that. Tekken 8 is amazing and an incredible step up from Tekken 7 in every way. They gave the bear a fish rocket launcher. I feel like they should justify your purchase. However, one of the biggest mysteries surrounding the game as of now has to do with the newcomer, Reina. She's a standout character from both the story of Tekken 8 and to the fanbase, where it being her gameplay, her design, but most importantly, from the overarching mystery surrounding her character. Who is she? What's her connection with the Mishima family? And how will she affect the overall lore of Tekken going forward? Well, I plan to talk about all that and more for the next, I don't know how many minutes this video is going to be. Also, I guess this should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways. This video contains spoilers for basically the entire Tekken franchise, but most importantly Tekken 8. So if you haven't played it yet, go play it. Or if you're poor, then go watch the Rad Brats playthrough of it, I don't know. But if you don't care about spoilers or have already played the game, then let's get started. First and foremost, let's cover what we know so far about Reina and the bits and pieces we see of her in the Tekken 8 story mode. Reina is one of the new characters introduced in this game, first appearing in Chapter 3 of the story mode. She first introduces herself during the King of Iron Fist tournament to Jin. She mentions her excitement in meeting another Mishima Polytechnical School grad, only for Jin to show little to no interest in her in return. She manages to reach the semifinals while she'll fight Jin. She makes it very clear that she wants the fight to be taken as seriously as possible, turning her once innocent tone to something more sinister. This is shown even more after beating her for the first time, as she starts utilizing the Mishima fighting style, which Jin recognizes immediately. After the second round, Reina manages to awaken Jin's devil form for a few seconds, which is what she's wanted to see all along. She forfeits moments later, but not because she feels like she needs to, but because she already has an idea in how Jin's devil form works. Jin approaches Reina shortly after the match. She quickly asks if she can help take down Kazuya, but in return Jin asks about her fighting technique. She responds that she learned it watching internet videos, but let's be honest here, I'm pretty sure nobody really bought that excuse, but it doesn't matter because it landed her a spot on the team. Hooray. The next time she gets the spotlight in the story is after Kazuya absorbs Ecel's power and becomes True Devil Kazuya, where she gets her chance to fight him in isolation after everybody in the team outside Jin just gets her ass kicked. Surprisingly, or unsurprisingly considering what we learn in the story later, Reina puts up a really good fight against Kazuya, even catching the man himself slightly impressed, but even still he manages to come up on top. Well, kinda. He doesn't really defeat Reina, but he himself doesn't get defeated. We'll just call it a draw, I guess. Either way, Kazuya escapes, and Reina still manages to be with the good guys. In Chapter 10, Reina fights against Nina Williams during the whole Mishima Baiatsu versus G Corporation war thing, I guess. While Nina has no idea who she is, Reina seems to already have a good idea who Nina is. How does she know about her? Well, just like everything we've touched about her so far, we have no fucking clue. However, we do know that Reina is interested in recruiting Nina to work with her. But then we just cut back to Kazuya just casually shooting lasers at everybody like the silly maniac he is, and Reina, being a maniac herself, decides to openly accept being shot by a laser with her arms, threads, and everything. You imagine she'd die after that, but come on now, you already know that's not the case. The last we see of Reina is in the post-credit scene of Tekken 8, where she stands up in the rubble from Kazuya's attack, revealing herself to not only be the daughter of Heihachi, but also just still happens to possess the Devil Gene. And that's it. Outside of the non-canon arcade ending, which gets us an insight of what exactly Reina wishes to achieve, that's all we see of her throughout the game. For now, we're just left to theorize about her and her impact she'll make in the franchise moving forward. So let's do that for a little bit. Now, it's pretty clear that Reina will most likely become a recurring antagonist moving forward. Even if she doesn't become a main antagonist, she's definitely looking to be a threat for our protagonist for future games, especially now that we know that she possesses the Devil Gene. On the topic of that, let's talk about that for a little bit. Something that I noticed throughout the story mode is that 2 out of the 3 fights we get to play as Reina with are against Jin and Kazuya, 2 characters that contain the Devil Gene. Like I mentioned earlier, she wanted to fight against Jin not because she wanted to proceed with the King of Iron Fist tournament, but more or less because she wanted to see how his Devil Gene works and use it as a test to see if she can awaken her own devil powers too, but it really didn't go anywhere. Then we had the fight against True Devil Kazuya, which I argue gave her more time to awaken her Devil Gene, but it still wasn't enough. That is until she endured that giant laser at the end, which probably got the job done. But how exactly does she have the Devil Gene in the first place? I've seen a lot of theories online that could explain this, so I'll briefly touch upon the 3 common theories I saw. Theory number 1, Reina's the reincarnation of Heihachi. At first I thought this theory was a little bit too out there to really be considered a possibility, but then I remembered 2 things. 1 is that Street Fighter did a similar plot with Seth and M. Bison, and 2, this is fucking Tekken, Tekken, the same series where they brought back a dinosaur to life just for the purpose of fighting, only for that dinosaur to live a happy life with his recently divorced kangaroo wife. So at this point, any sense of realism or exaggeration is out the window. That said, the theory itself doesn't have a lot of support backing it up, other than people noticing that Reina acts a lot like Heihachi at times and utilizing his fighting style, but that alone could be debunked with how much Reina idolizes her father, which is probably the most crazy thing to come out of this series considering that this is Heihachi we're talking about. So she will want to take as much inspiration from him as possible. Also, by the time frame between Tekken 7 and 8 being a year, I doubt that he would reincarnate that quickly, and Heihachi himself doesn't really have the devil gene, so him turning into a girl which just so happens to have the devil gene would be incredibly convenient. Theory number 2, Reina is the secret daughter of Katsumi. So considering that Reina has the devil gene and she's related to Heihachi, some Tekken fans come to the conclusion that Reina could be the secret child of Katsumi, aka Heihachi's wife. But just like the first theory, it doesn't really have that much support backing it up. While we don't have confirmation of her age, it's pretty clear that she looks significantly younger than Kazuya, and it wouldn't be possible for Katsumi to have another child after Kazuya years later because she's dead for a good while now, so we can throw that idea out the window. I should mention too that Heihachi, no joke, has over 25 illegitimate children, with Reina being one of them, so maybe Heihachi managed to get with a girl that just so happens to also contain the devil gene and is transferred to Reina. After all, the game confirms that a cell can give anyone the devil gene. While that's more believable than the first theory, I would also argue that would be really convenient. And finally, theory number 3, Reina's a lab child. This is the theory that seems to have the most going for it, and the theory I personally think will happen. The theory suggests that while she is related to Heihachi, she will more or less be a clone spliced with both Heihachi's DNA and the Devil Gene DNA. Something similar to this was previously attempted in Tekken 4. Heihachi failed to capture Ogre, the main antagonist of Tekken 3, so he orders his researchers to collect the remainings of Ogre's DNA to create new life, combining both genetics together, but due to Heihachi's lack of the Devil Gene, he wasn't able to create new lives. So who knows, maybe in the future he worked on this project secretly, somehow capturing Jin or Kazuya's DNA, and finally managing to create the worthy successor of the Mishima family. I know this theory does have a lot of straw grasping attached to it, but it's honestly the best theory we have to go off as of right now. Overall, while she didn't appear as much in this game as I thought she would, I'm really intrigued to see how they'll take Reina in the series moving forward. It'll probably take a while before we get a continuation of the storyline, but as of now, I'll be enjoying Tekken 8, waiting in anticipation to see what happens next. Anyways, this has been Manuel D, and you can customize Kazuya to look like Don Ramon. If that doesn't convince you to get the game, then it's your loss at this point.